The United States of America, right now, has the strongest, most durable economy in the world. Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
There you have it, folks. Welcome to the Anarchist podcast, episode number 13. And if you say the economy is in the dumps, you're peddling shit. You heard it from the master. The Lord and Savior Obama has spoken. And the economy is doing great. So go to sleep. Everything will be fine. Your government loves you. All right, guys. So let's get into the podcast. I just had to start it with that because lots to get into. Of course, we have the Republican and Democratic debates that have been going on the last week or so. Also, the Obama State of the Union. He's done his last speech now. Thank God. Hurry up, get the fuck out. Go draw kittens like Bush is doing on his ranch or something. Just ridiculous that these criminals afterwards can just retire into the hills and just never be harassed or go on, never brought up on charges for the criminal activities that they've done. But so we'll get into that. We're gonna get into the economy. We're gonna talk about that because no, the economy is not great, Mr. Obama. You're the one peddling shit. You're the one peddling a fantasy. We're gonna get into the immigrant crisis, which is really amping up since I've last done a video. A lot of videos coming out now where there's immigrants mass raping, and Sweden the rape capital, and Germany now over 1.5 million flooded in, and here now in Canada too, we're getting them like crazy. So lots of news when it comes to the immigrant refugee crisis, the hordes of zombies flooding over to destroy Western nations. We'll get into that as well, the economy and all that. We're going to get into the phony money in the Federal Reserve because, of course, that is how all this shit can happen. The Achilles heel behind it. We're going to get into the gun control debate because Obama addressed that a little bit on his speech as well. And, we'll keep it to that as well. So we'll keep it to the economy, refugee crisis, the debates, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll start it off with Obama's little address there that the economy is doing great. Well, I would just like to point out to Mr. Obama that I didn't know now that we live in a society where debt equals wealth, because I guess that's what wealth is now. So newsflash to all my listeners, debt now equals wealth. So if you got credit cards, if you got student loans, or anything like that, you just run that shit up. The more debt you have, the wealthier you are. And then when people call you and ask you to pay for your bills that need to be paid, you just tell them that, no, this is wealth. What are you doing? Leave me alone. I'm wealthy now. This is just all this debt I've accumulated. This is how we run things. Because Mr. Obama, I would just like to say, you, sir, have doubled the national debt in your term. In the 8 years this man has took office, 8 years, let me emphasize that, 8 years, he has doubled the national debt. And when I say doubled it nationally, when I'm pointing this out, his 8-year term, he has created as much debt in that 8 years as since Bush and the founding of the United States of America. So all the money George Washington, all the previous presidents after him, and Kennedy and Carter and Roosevelt and all these fucking people, and Reagan and Bush and Clinton and all these people before. Think of all the fucking presidents since before Obama. Every single one of them. Think of them. Let all the faces start coming in your head. Has spent all together, all of them added up together, as much as Obama in 8 years. And this man has the nerve to sit on that stage and tell you the economy is doing great. And anyone who says that the economy is not doing great is peddling fiction. Don't believe these conspiracy theorists. They don't have your interest. The government does. And let us take the guns for your safety. Nobody's sick. This guy is ridiculous. And let me just address the gun issue next. So the man says, We need to take the American population's gun. We need to take your guns because people, well, they do bad things with guns. Humans can't be trusted with guns. They do, guns they're evil. But yet this man, Obama, the one calling for guns, not to mention the fact that he's surrounded by a security force that is armed with guns to keep him safe, but obviously guns don't work. The guns don't work for self-defense. Obama, you have the right to protect yourself with Secret Service. I don't have the right to protect myself. But that's his logic. But that's not even the most hypocritical part about it. Him calling for gun control while having a Secret Service. That's not even the worst part. The most insane part is him calling for gun control while this man is single-handedly one of the biggest arms dealers in the country, in the world. They ship so many guns to ISIS, to Al-Qaeda, to fund the rebels, they call them. So they can give them to foreign migrants. They can give guns to people in other countries. These third world shitholes, they can give them to these terrorists. Those people can have guns. Obama will give them guns. But you, an America citizen, you can't have them. It is insanity. We are living in the movie Idiocracy. We are living in it. It's no longer like, one day we'll be living in an idiocracy. We are living in it right now. And if anyone who doesn't know the movie that I'm referencing, the premise behind the movie Idiocracy is a guy who has average intelligence, and he gets into a time machine, and he goes into the future. And when he gets out of the time machine in the future, he realized that he's an average intelligent man, but now he's the smartest person on the planet, because in all those years that he was in stasis going into the future, society kept progressing, but the dumb were outbreeding the smart, and it led to where the movie goes on to, where he's now the smartest man, and the societies are all collapsed. People are drooling over themselves. They don't know how to tie their shoes. Nobody knows how to repair the electric grids, so everyone's living in the Stone Age. And I think that this is where we're headed. This is where we're fucking headed if we don't address this issue of structuring our society where the dumb, the disabled, the degenerate, the stupid, the lower of intelligence can breed like vermins, like rabbits. Because, if you're a single mother and you're not working, and then you're just being subsidized by the government, well, you can have as many kids as you want. Because you're not working an 8 to 9 hour shift every day, or you just have more time on your hands. So that's what happens. The people who are the most intelligent are using their intelligence and their time and stuff to go out and produce and stuff like that, and they're not having as much time to have the kids. So this is the problem and the result. And what's going to happen if we have the structure of government, have this welfare system, which I think government is. Government itself is just a way of stealing from the wealthy, stealing from the productive, and giving it to the zombies, giving it to the ones who can't produce. And doing that and incentivizing these people who don't do nothing to produce, and making it hard for the people who are making and producing to have kids and have the time to have the time with their kids and have a bunch of them, we're going to end up in a state of idiocracy. You're going to end up in a state where we're having right now. If you look at these third world shitholes, if you look at these countries who on average have lower IQs than Western nations, and that's why they're in these different states there. That's why they look like crap, and that's why they're third world shitholes. Well, it's not only just because they have corrupt governments, because we have corrupt governments, but it's all because of it. Also, you got to address the IQ issue. An average IQ of a Somalian is like 68, 70. I'm sorry to say, but 70 is mid-level retardation. It's not a matter of being racist. It's pointing at the facts, and it also makes sense. If you have people that are lower intelligence, and you look at their society and you say, wonder how well Somalia is doing. Is it a capitalist utopia? Do they got casinos and then a bunch of downtown and people living prosperous? No, it looks like fucking third world shithole. They're shitting in the streets. They don't even have a sewage system. It's an issue with IQ. Whether we debate whether it's genetics or environments, who cares? We got to look at the facts of the situation. And when you look at these countries, these stupider countries, these lower IQ countries, and you see how many people on average they have, how many kids they have, they're having like 3, 4, 5 kids. And then when you look at the higher intelligent countries, the Western nations, the Singapores, the China, and I'm not even just saying white nations. We're saying, okay, Singapore, China, Europe, Canada, these kind of places, where there's mega cities and people living more civilized, more intelligently. Well, they're having less kids, 1.2, 2 kids maybe. And if we don't address this problem, we're gonna be really screwed. We're gonna be taken over by the dumb. We're gonna be moving back into the Stone Ages. Maybe this is how society has always been. There's just this theory that a lot of people, historians and archaeologists, say that the human species has only been around for 50,000, give or take 6,000 years and whatnot, 100,000 even some say. But maybe civilizations and humans have gone back millions of years, but we just go through the cycles where we start doing really good, and the environment that the world creates, the natural environment, makes it so that the weak don't survive and the strong thrive. Because if you're weak, well, you get killed off in society, in nature. It's just how nature works. If you're weak, if you got a disadvantage, if you're crippled, and if you're a crippled deer and stuff like that, or you're a deer that can't walk right, or you have a deformity or something, well, you're gonna get killed off pretty quick by a predator in the area. So usually the weak or the deformed or the dysfunctional or anything like that usually die in nature. That's kind of why you've seen nature progress. Why we've gotten smarter and things have gotten better. But then all of a sudden humans have created this thing called government. This thing where we think it's a good idea to take from the profitable, take from the strong, the motivated, and the productive, and give it to the ones who would normally in nature die off, and allow them to produce more than the upper class. The producers can produce and have more babies than they do. Well, maybe we go through this cycle where the hordes of stupid eventually outpopulate us, and then they just run us over, and we die off, and we have to go through this cycle again. Because then you'd see the stupid people, like in the movie, can't run, can't know how to repair all the infrastructure and stuff, and societies go back to the Stone Ages, and then of course they go back into nature, and then nature takes care of things, and nature affects the human body and makes it so the weak die off and the strong survive, and we go through the boom and bust. Maybe we've been doing this for like a millions of years. Maybe this is this is what humans got to look forward to. Because the smart are cuckold. That's the best word. I'm so glad that in the libertarian and anarchist movement, this word has been thrown out, conservative and stuff, because it's a good example of the situation we're dealing with. The smart are too cuckold. We'd rather kill ourselves to try and be nice than address the issues. We can't, and it makes me mad too, the refugee crisis. They're like, oh, we gotta help the poor Syrian children. Well, what about the poor homeless people in your country, the children in your country? What about the poor kids in the Congo? It just seems to me they only care about the refugee crisis. They only care about the people who they're at war with. And if you're at war with a country, the last thing you want to do is bring a bunch of angry people from that country who are going to be mad at your country for attacking their country and bring them into your homeland. Because obviously they're going to have remorse for you and what your country's doing to theirs. Oh, and it might stir up some homegrown terrorist attacks. Oh, who would have thought? Problem, reaction, solution. People, come on. It's so easy to figure out. The government creates the terrorists. You want to get rid of terrorism, you get rid of government. You want to get rid of government, get rid of the phony money. Get rid of this belief that it's okay and more productive to take people's money to provide services than to just let people buy the services that they want. It's ridiculous. So, we talked about the State of the Union, doubling of the money, the guns and stuff, but I want to also talk a little bit about the Federal Reserve. Just for a little second. And most of the people who are listening to this podcast probably already know the history of the Fed. But just for those few people who may find this in the future and don't really know or whatever, the Fed is a private bank founded in 1913 by a group of collaborators who were a bunch of wealthy people who set up this bank. And this is now the bank that runs the currency for the American government. It's crazy. It's not a government bank. It's a privately owned bank. And I don't think a lot of Americans really know that. And these are the puppet masters. If these guys weren't allowed to just print this money and they didn't have all this control, it wasn't this one single bank that runs the money, and instead it was a bunch of competing banks competing, open up some competition. Jesus, you can't even audit the goddamn Fed. If you could at least audit it, you would see on their books all the corruption, the corrupt deals, the money sent to the foreign banksters, the open fraud of the American population's tax money and stuff. That's why Rand Paul and stuff tries to get the audit the Fed bill passed, but of course it always gets beaten down in the Congress and never gets passed. Because they know you audit the Fed, you address the issue of the Fed, the phony money, well, then they can't have all their fun. They can't wage the wars. They can't rip the American population off like they can. If you had gold or Bitcoin or another form of money other than this private Federal Reserve currency that they issue to the government that we use, well, it's pretty hard to steal money, tax it out of people if you're being paid in gold or Bitcoin, because you can't just steal Bitcoin into your wallets. The government can't do that. So that's what Bitcoin would get around that. Governments wouldn't be able to tax you if you were in Bitcoin. And gold, they'd have to physically come and take your gold. But if you throw it in a bank, ones and zeros, into their phony money supply, well, they just take it out, evaporate it. Or you see when Cyprus or when governments have financial collapses, and meltdowns, they just they're scared of bank runs, which is common sense if people want their money. And they freaking lend out more than they have in the reserve, so they obviously have to shut the banks down so people don't come and do a bank run because they don't have the money to give these people. The whole Ponzi scheme's a joke. And usually what happens in Cyprus, if you're using their money, their banks, and they have a financial collapse, well, they say, well, sorry, we need to take this to pay for all the shit we did. And if anyone is listening to this and doesn't have at least 60 to 70% of their life savings in some kind of gold, or I'm not saying put it all in gold, mix it up, put some in gold, put some in Bitcoin, put some in hard assets, guns or whatever you want, things that later on you can sell and get rid of. If you don't got your money in that stuff by now, and you still have money in some kind of government bonds, RSPs, and all that kind of shit, you're fucking crazy. You're crazy. That money will be gone. You are a sucker, and you will lose it all just like everyone else in history has lost their money when they do that stuff. And you've been warned. It's the writing's on the wall. The Dow's down. The economy's in shit. So get your money out while you can. And what scares me is when you see the writing on the wall. When the countries are in debt and they have this economy collapsing and the financial system's coming down, the fastest way to get yourself out of a depression, out of a global collapse, is for a nation to go to war. Because if a nation goes to war, the conquering country that they conquer, they get now the spoils of the war. So that's profitable for them. War is profitable in that way. Also, when a country goes to war, they ramp up production and goods and resources. They got to build more tanks, they got to build more bullets, they got to build all this, which creates jobs in the temporary movement, which stimulates the economy. And throughout history, that's what happened. We had the Depression, and then bang, we go to war. Then we come out of that, we win the war, we're in this nice little economy boom, everyone's doing great, jobs are up, loans are, people are giving out loans, everyone's doing great, but then we start going down. And we start doing the boom-bust cycle again. And we're at that point right now where either the government's going to collapse in the next couple of years, like the financial system's coming to a halt, or they're going to have to go to war. And I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they've always tried that because they don't want their system to collapse and the financial system to fully collapse. And that would actually be the best thing that would happen, because then at least the market would fix itself, would address the issue. Maybe we'd get rid of this phony banking system once people realize that it can fail instead of being always bailed out. So yeah, the fastest way out is war. And like I said, you ramp up production, you get the spoils of war, and I think it's their game plan. And even I don't know if you guys could pull up an article I seen, the Royal Bank of Scotland, the head of that, has said, he's come out and said, sell everything. He's told his investors, sell everything. And they know. They're preparing for it. And that's why, that's why also I think is why we're seeing the immigrant crisis. It all makes sense when I look at it like that. They want to go to war because it's the only way out of this economy collapsing, which is looming over them. They don't want it to happen because then they'll lose some of their control, which is the financial system. They gain so much control. So they want to go to war, but it's just hard to go to war with the westernized nations because we don't like war. Majority of people now, we understand we don't like going to war with people. It's not fun. We understand that now. Isn't it funny that was it a couple years ago, Obama wanted to go to war with Syria, and the American population spoke up. They rose up. They're like, "Oh no, we don't want to go to war. We're done. We're done with wars, Obama. We're sick of that foreign war shit. We're staying out of it." And everyone was praising. People were like, "Holy shit!" People spoke up, and they actually stopped the war. And then now, look, time has passed. We're about a year or so since then, and we're in war with Syria. So it doesn't take long for them to get their way. So it's hard to convince the American population to go to war, but not too hard. But one of the ways they could do it is by opening up the borders and bringing in these refugees, bringing in these foreigners to bring your civilization down. Because when you're seeing right now in Europe and Germany and Sweden, these refugees are coming in, and on average, they use welfare services double than the homegrown population. So they're less likely to work than the most of the population, the homegrown population. So they're not like they're coming over here and producing and helping the economy. No, they're actually a burden. In most cases, the crime rates and stuff like that, the rapes and stuff go up. So they're committing more crimes on average than the homegrown population. They're using welfare more than the homegrown population. And they tend to vote 99% of the time for more government. So here you got Western nations and, who are hating their governments and they're trying to battle with this corruption and shit. And they don't really want to go to war. And the American people, the people pull the strings, like, shit, well, we need to go to war because that's how we're going to get ourselves out of this financial collapse. And we don't want to go down the financial collapse. So I think their plan is bring in the refugees. So the refugees, the whole population starts getting pissed off with them, right? You're seeing this in Germany right now and stuff. You're seeing people flipping out and hating these foreigners and stuff because they're coming in and raping and pillaging their country and taking their jobs and all this other shit. So they're hating on them. And the more hate they get for these foreigners, because they come in and fuck up their own countries, their homelands, it makes it easier for the politicians, the warmongers, to sell the war to them. Because now you're like, yeah, fuck it. Bomb Syria, because I'm sick of these goddamn Syrians in my country coming in here, raping our women, fucking using welfare and voting Democrat for more government, taking my freedoms. I'm sick of them. Just fucking bomb them. I'm sick of them. And that's their plan. That's their whole plan. I see it now. It's the writing on the wall. They want to go to war to get us out of the financial collapse, but they can't because the American population is always resistant. We don't just want to go to war. It's not fun. We understand that war is bad. But if you ship in migrants and people from these countries that we're at war with, and they start poking the beehive, which is the homegrown population, and harassing them, now the homegrown population starts hating these people that are in their country, the people that they're at war with, and it makes them easier to justify the war. Boom. problem, reaction, solution. It's all there, guys. That the writing is on the wall. All you need to do is look, or you can listen to my podcast and I'll break it down for you, just like I just did. But that's how it is. That's what's going on. I don't know how much more easier it can be to understand. So let's continue on here. I want to address more of Obama's State of the Union speech. So like I said, the first, economy's great. Obama said it. Your Lord and Savior. His 8 years, he's only doubled the national debt, but it's wonderful. Debt now is wealth. Of course, now he also said that we addressed the gun thing. Obama says, hand in your guns, Americans, because, guns kill people. But yet he also gives guns to lower IQ, third world shithole people in these countries, these terrorists, these rebels, who go and commit mass atrocities with them. But they can have guns, but you can't. So now let's get into his stance on ISIS, because it's another absurdity with Obama. One of the most absurd things as well. So Obama said that he is hard on ISIS and those who seek to destroy the American values. That's not a fucking joke. He's hard on ISIS. The guy fucking created ISIS. Without America waging war in these foreign countries and trying to topple their regimes and put in their own puppet masters, without that shit going on and funding the terrorists and arming them, there would be no ISIS. Hillary and Obama, like Trump has said, has created ISIS. So Obama's saying he's hard on ISIS when literally he's the creator. What the fuck? It's like saying up is down. It's insanity. There's no other word for it than insanity. When I hear that shit, when I'm watching the TV, it's torture. It's torture watching the State of the Union nowadays, just knowing what I know. And then him to say that, oh, if anyone says the economy's in shit, they're pummeling shit. The guy, he's the biggest peddler of shit, Obama himself. So he's hard on ISIS and those who seek to destroy American values. The guy wants to get rid of the fucking First Amendment because hate speech. And you don't want to call trannies and stuff like that. That's evil. The guy wants to get rid of guns. He wants to search and seizure. He's had Edward Snowden come out, blow the NSA, violating people's right to privacy, and he hasn't done anything to address that. Obama, you seek to destroy American values, not ISIS. ISIS doesn't spy on everyone. ISIS doesn't steal Americans' money. ISIS doesn't do all these things that Obama does, try to pass gun control in the Senate and get rid of American population. So they asserted, Obama says that he's hard on ISIS and those who seek to destroy American values. Literally, he is talking about himself. He is ISIS. He destroys American values. It's fucking absurd. And another thing that boggles my mind too about the UN and everything like that, we hate the Iraq and the Syrians and these people are bad and these regimes are tyrannical and we got to fight these people who are against American values, but then yet they're best friends with Saudi Arabia and buy oil and do deals and trade deals with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, a country who doesn't let women drive, who just recently ended slavery, I don't know, in the 80s or 60s. I mean, not even that long ago. So you want to talk about rape culture and slavery and all that kind of shit? Saudi Arabia, that's the rape culture. In Saudi Arabia, if a woman gets raped, she has to have men go to her trial and stuff like that, or they won't even hear her case. So if a woman doesn't have men to speak up for her, they don't care. That's rape culture. But then you got these feminists and stuff in the left wing here in America and Canada and stuff going, oh, we live in a rape culture in Canada. Go to fucking Saudi Arabia, bitch. You don't even know what a rape culture is. It's ridiculous. In Canada and in Western nations, if you rape someone, you go to jail. We don't live in a rape culture. These migrant and immigrant Muslim nations, they're rape culture. But let's continue. So Saudi Arabia, women can't drive, rape culture hardcore. They have modern slaves. It's illegal, but there's been caught instances of that. They have political prisoners. They kill their political prisoners. They killed atheists. If you're an atheist in Saudi Arabia, yeah, you're getting executed. And America will go there and shake the hand of these fucking guys and do deals with them and welcome them to have a seat at the UN. And then we'll go on about how bad Iraq and Syria and all these places are and how they're trying to destroy American values. But like I said, the hypocrisy of having Saudi Arabia sitting at the UN, it's ridiculous. All right. So what else? So I guess I will tell you. There's a video that I want to get you guys to watch after my video. I would encourage you to go watch it because it's the best explanation of the refugee crisis thing. Because the media only spins it as, like, I see them in Canada here. They do interviews with a woman and her little refugee children. They come into Canada. Oh, we're so happy that you opened your doors and let us into Canada. You're so sweet. And it looks like, oh, how could we not help this poor lady and her children? But what they don't show you is, yeah, you might get one or a couple good families out of the refugee program, but on average, majority of them are fucking not good people. Will commit crimes, will use welfare programs, will not get jobs, and all this other stuff. And this video that I want you guys to go see shows you guys all that. The hidden things that they're not showing you on the media about the refugee crisis. The videos of them flooding over the borders and just fighting police and throwing stones and stuff if they don't let them in. And then when the humanitarian aid people, the Red Cross, come and try to give them food and water, they're like, no, we don't want your food and water. We want money. We're just here for the money. And that's all it is. Because if you look at the refugees, there's so many different countries that they could go to that's closer next door to Syria, but it seems that they just they do hopscotch over different countries and only go to the ones that offer the ones with the highest welfare refugee programs. And you'll see it in these videos. These refugees in this video will say, the woman asks her, okay, you're in the country right now, you fled here to, I forget where they say, like, let's say Norway or something, or you're safe here. Why do you want to try now to go to Germany? Why don't you just stay here where you're safe? Well, no, we want to continue going to Germany because Germany gives us more money. And that's what it's all about. They're just here for the money. They're not here for us. They don't care about the home population. They don't care about freedom, liberty. This is why I don't like letting these people in here. Because they're going to destroy my way of life, not better it. That's why. It's not a racist thing. It's the facts. I wouldn't care if they were white, if they were a bunch of white people coming in here who were lower IQ and want to destroy my Western values and freedom and stuff like that, then I'd tell them to get the fuck out too. And to build a wall like Trump says. So this video, just go to YouTube and search in refugee, money, or all rape. And it's by R.U.R. Poet is the channel name. And it's a 20-minute video. And it's got 125,000 views. And as I'm doing this video right now, or this podcast for you guys, I have actually saving this video because I don't know how long YouTube might censor it. They might take it down. So I'm going to save it, archive it, so that if that does happen, I'll have it. So I can show you guys later on if that happens, if you can't see it. But I would encourage you to go check it out. It's called Refugee, Money, or All Rape. And this guy did a great compilation of all the different news articles and stories and interviews with refugees and stuff to address the refugees and what they're actually doing. And it's funny, the heading is Money or All Rape. It's because in one of the clips, they go to a German welfare office, and one of the guys there, one of the refugees, is basically telling the welfare lady behind the desk, give me our money that we came here for. We were promised. Merkel told us, come to Germany, we'll get money. Give us our welfare check, or we'll rape you. This is what we're going to deal with. And then you see the video a couple days ago, servicing of like 200-300 migrant men just like swarm and start grabbing a couple women and raping them, like mass rapes and stuff. Like, this is disgusting, man. We do not want to open the doors up and just let all these people flood into our countries. It's not a good idea. It's going to destroy us. So like I said, go check out that one. That's all I want to say about the refugee thing. And that video, I think, will give you the best understanding. Any better than I can articulate, but for you to see it visually with your eyes, them jumping the fences and pushing past all the people and turning down food and supplies. They'd rather have just money. And one of them actually complains that they get housing, right? And they're complaining that the housing isn't good enough, and they're 1 minute they're too hot in the house, and then they're too cold. And dude, you came from fucking Syria. Your country is third world shit. It's nothing. The country you're from doesn't even have a fucking welfare program. And then you come to our country and complain about our welfare program. You're fucking joke. Go back to your countries. And this is what most of these people need to do. Just go back to their own countries and stuff. Instead of fleeing their country because it's corrupt, how about you overturn your corrupt governments and establish democracies and freedom and Western values like our countries have done, huh? Instead of just fleeing your problems. Americans and stuff, and Canadians, we didn't flee our problems. We addressed them and changed our countries, and that's why they're the way they are today. But instead, these people just want to run away from the problems. So, these people that are running from corrupt governments and coming to your countries, well, they're not going to be here when your government gets corrupt. They're not going to be the ones that fight your corrupt government. You already seen that these are wussies. These are pussies. These are people who flee problems, not address them. So let's continue. I guess I just want to finish up. We'll talk a little bit more about the student loans and the economy and stuff. Like 64% of Americans live on less than $1,000 a day. Over half of Americans, let me say that again, 64% live on less than $1,000 a day. So when this economy collapses, 64% of Americans are fucked. There's no money, there's no savings, there's no nothing to get them through the hard times. And this is going to create hordes of zombies, the rioting, the looting, all the stuff you see when societies decay and go into this shit, when financial collapses happen and the bread shelves turn up empty. And this is why you guys should be preparing for this stuff. The writing's on the wall. If 64% of Americans live with less than $1,000 a day, that means that if they, they could have anything could happen. I mean, 64% of Americans, what if you get a major car breakdown and repairs? You couldn't pay for that. A major health concern in the family. I mean, this is scary statistics. So we're living in a giant bubble right now. A bubble of debt. And for those of you who want to know that study, it was done by the NFCC, National Foundation for Credit Counseling. 64% of Americans live on $1,000 a day. So, you can Google that yourself to fact check it. It's realistic. And student loans, I mean, Jesus Christ. And the problem with student loans nowadays is that they've become a subsidy program as well, because student loans, when you think about it, the student loan is supposed to go for education. Student loans nowadays no longer go for just education. A lot of college students and university students use their student loans to pay for also things like rent and their lifestyles and going out and food and paying their internet bill and stuff like that. And the student loan was never meant to be for that stuff. It was just meant to pay for education. So in a sense, student loans have also become a second welfare system, kind of. Instead of going on the welfare system, well, you just go to school for a couple years and collect student loans. And just do that and get all these shitty diplomas and degrees and stuff that actually will not secure a job afterwards. And you end up with all this debt. But I guess by Obama at the beginning of this podcast, debt means wealth. So I guess you guys are doing great. The bigger the student loan, the better off you guys are, right? By Obama standards. But I don't know what to say. I think I'm going to wrap up the podcast here soon. I'm going to try and keep this one short. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else to say in this podcast. What can you do? It's like banging my head on the wall when I do these podcasts, or when I have to sit there and watch Obama's State of the Union. I just can't believe that a bunch of grown-ass men, a bunch of adults, that majority of society thinks that this is an acceptable way of living in society. This is an acceptable way of structuring things. It's just insane. It's scary. It's very scary because it shows me how far off we've come. Like people who say, oh, Alex Jones, or people who get on the internet and are fear-mongering, who say there's a looming collapse and the government's evil. It's worse than even we can imagine. Okay, it's way worse than we can even imagine. I can't even put it to words. The existence of government, like I said in other previous podcasts, just think of the war on drugs alone. Think of how many families have been ruined, ripped apart, fathers stripped from their families for petty crimes, for just poor decision making. Okay, so what? The drugs are harmful to them. So is eating too many fucking cheeseburgers. So is being an alcoholic. So is chain smoking. So is going home and drinking a thing of bleach and killing yourself that way. There's lots of ways to harm yourself. Shouldn't be a crime. Whatever you do with your body is fine as long as you're not hurting anyone else or infecting on anyone else. And then isn't it absurd where some countries, certain drugs are legal, then you pass this imaginary line called a border, and poof, now that act is now an immoral act and it'll put you in a cage for it. It's absurd that we live in this absurd way of structuring things. that literally different countries have different rules. Shouldn't the rules be just basic that everyone can understand? It doesn't matter if you're in fucking Sri Lanka, or it doesn't matter if you're in China or in Canada. We should all understand the basics that, hey, yeah, you don't hit people, you don't steal people's shit, you don't murder, basic things like that. But no, we can't. It's different rules all around the world, different way, different rules. 1 minute over here, you can smoke at this age. You can't smoke here, it's illegal. You can have your gun open carry here. You have your gun open carry here, it's a felony, 5 years. It's just fucking ridiculous. This is how we live. It's sick. It really is. It's sick. And all I can do is get on this podcast and rant and put my voice out there and do what I can. And hopefully some people listen and have some fun and find it entertaining. If you don't, whatever. But I'm also speaking to the future as well, because like I've said in previous podcasts, I do this podcast not only to speak to people in current time, but to hear this down the road. Because what I talk about now may not be the most favorable speech or the most favorable ideas, but that don't matter. It's like someone talking about ending slavery when slavery was popular back then. Well, they were looked down as like, you're a fucking idiot. We need slaves. If we don't have slaves, who's going to pick the cotton? But now, 100 years in advancement, when we look back on them conversations and debates back then, we obviously say, well, those people were fucking stupid to think slavery was a moral thing to do, a right thing to do. Well, the same way I speak on this podcast, I know that when people listen to my voice a couple 100 years or 50 years down the road, they're going to listen to me and say, God, can you believe that this poor sucker had to live in this time of pure insanity where Obama says that he's hard on ISIS? Meanwhile, he's the guy who created ISIS, and the country collapsed like a bunch of sheep wolves. Oh, he's great. We love our leader, Obama. Like, this is fucking sanity. And maybe I do this podcast for those people listening in the future. You guys, listening to this. I hope we made it. Hope we made it into the future. Hope we didn't destroy ourselves. I hope we're not living in an idiocracy where we're further down the line, where we're basically shitting in diapers and nobody knows how to repair infrastructure. I hope we haven't blown ourselves up in a third world war and nukes and all this other shit. And hopefully we're not outbred by the migrants and no such thing as a white man in 100 years. I hope this isn't the situation. But if it is, listen to this podcast as a beacon of knowledge of what not to do. Just understand that this is what you don't want to do. This is how you don't want to structure society. So how I'm telling you how we're doing it right now, don't do this. In the future, do not do this. Avoid this shit. Capitalism is great. Free market's great. People being able to make free choices. If you want to be able to build the roads, let people build the roads. Roads were built before governments ever come into existence. Romans and shit built the roads way back then because it was a way to travel and get their armies around to conquer other lands and stuff. Roads will be built. People will do things. If we didn't have government, who would build iPads? Government couldn't even conceive of iPads, okay? Free markets create better ideas and ingenuity. Don't worry about these things. Government is a parasite. Get rid of it. People listening to this in the future, okay? I'm telling you how to do this. War on drugs, bullshit. Don't believe it. People should be able to make the choice and do whatever they want. The only rules in society, the only rules in life we need is simple understand rules. Ones that we can teach to 5-year-olds in kindergarten that can understand. And then even when they grow up in grade 6, 7, all the way up to their adulthood, will still understand the same basic ways to live life, that you don't aggress against your fellow human beings. It's not good to steal from people. It's not good to murder them. It's not good. If it's not okay to slap your woman for not cleaning the house, it's not okay to slap your kid for not cleaning the house. Use universal principles and universalize them and structure it not only to your home life, but on a whole. So if it's not okay to smack your wife for not cleaning the house, it's not okay to smack your kid for not cleaning the house. It's not okay to smack someone for not wanting to pay taxes and pay for schools, okay? Just universalize these principles all across your life, and we'll have a better way of living in our society. Anarchism is the future. That's why I chose the Anarchist podcast as a name. When I did it, I thought about it, and I was like, it's kind of a bad marketing ploy, because when people hear anarchists, they hear the Anarchist podcast, they're going to immediately assume that I'm some kind of a nut job or, some kind of utopian extremist. And I'm trying to believe that, if we don't need no rules, we don't need no court systems, we don't need no police officers, everything will just be fine. No, I know humans are innately do bad things. I know that, we're not going to eliminate violence. And, of course, we're going to need rules. But rules is different than rulers. And when we have rules, that means they're universal. A rule means if it's not okay for you to do it, it's not okay for everyone to do it. So anarchism is the true utopia. It is equal rights. Not this politicians can steal your money, but you can't steal people's money. See, there's all this. They got extra rights. You don't got extra rights. Everybody has to follow the same right, and that's the only way it can work. So we have to get rid of this thing called government. And Molyneux put out a video today. Excuse me. And I want anyone who's watching this after to go check it out as well. Let me just pull it up here for you guys so I can. So he just posted it 2 hours ago. The secret about government power: what they won't tell you. And a very good video. It's only 7 minutes long, and it's a bombshell video. And I'll just sum it up, summarize it for you right now. Although I'll not do nearly as good as he will. So just go check out the video. But all it is he says that government it's a belief system. People need to stop believing this, and they attack people like me, activists and anarchists, and people who call for freedom and call for other ways of living life and structuring how to do societies. They attack anything that's different and don't want to go out of the norm, and that is statism. That attacking, that not wanting to change, not wanting to evolve, to live in this old archaic way of living and governing people. It's our mindset. If we wouldn't believe this authority, it wouldn't be there. So we have to get rid of this. And Molyneux said there's only 3 ways to do it, and I agree with him. He is right. There's only 3 ways to do it. There's one, by peacefully raising a generation of kids so they don't know violence, and raising them with education so they don't know these ways of governing, completely educating them out of the way of statism, which is it's a big task, and I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe generations out, but the way our world's headed down right now, I think we need to do something quicker. Then there's the second option, a violent revolution, which a lot of people are going to die, and it's going to end up in a bunch of bloodshed and all this other crap. Or third option, it's just not good. Or third option, like I said, we have to isolate ourselves together and do our own thing, and don't let the hordes of zombies and the degenerate destroy our way of life, and build a big wall and isolate ourselves and don't let them in. But I don't know. Who knows? They may destroy their part of the planet that they're on, these socialists, and they might end up, who knows, creating disasters that end up affecting us. So who knows? I don't know. Or the fourth option, which is the option we don't want, which is it doesn't work out, and we all end up destroying ourselves. The human species is just a species. We're just another species of animal. We can go extinct just like other species have gone extinct. Don't think that these religious people, so that's the problem with religion. These religious people think that we're special, like we're out of all the universe and all the stars and galaxies and all the planets and all the animals and creatures, that humans are special. And that's why nothing will never die off or go extinct, because God put us here. We're special. Well, that's not the case. And that's why I hate religion. It keeps us down. It stifles us to come with grasp with reality. That life is finite, and it's not finite. Life is limited. We're not here forever, and we could easily destroy ourselves. And I want to see the human experiment continue on. I don't want us to come to an end. I like humans. We're the only species that we know of in existence that is conscious and aware of our surroundings and is able to manipulate our environments to create beautiful things like spaceships and roads and technology. I mean, we don't want this beautiful experiment called the human species to come to an end. And that's why I do this podcast. It's because I have a genuine concern for humanity. I genuinely care for my fellow man. It's not that, I don't get on here and rail against politicians and cops and stuff because I hate these people. I hate what they're doing. They're destroying themselves and us. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Cops who are listening to this right now, if you don't weed out the bad in your ranks, then when the populations it's destined to do, come to a collapsing point with the economy or war and stuff like that. And things start to break down. Police right now have a bad image with the population. Population right now with the media and everything, they're starting to make the police look like bad guys. And it's hard to defend you guys if you don't see you guys speaking out. Because what is it? They like to say, well, one bad apple shouldn't ruin it for everyone. Well, yeah, one bad apple ruins the batch. If you cook an apple pie and you put a fucking rotten apple in there, it's going to affect the flavor, man. You ruin it for everyone else. And if you don't speak out against that, then all the American population is going to look at you and say, well, they didn't speak out against it. And I don't believe all the police are bad. My thought process is evolving as well. And I've seen also how the police are being manipulated and attacked by the media. Because watching the Bundy situation go on, where these guys are taking over the federal building there in Oregon, and there's a lot of videos coming out where the FBI is talking with the militia guys, and they're talking face to face with these guys and trying to reason it out. Like, come on. I don't hate officers of what they do. I don't hate cops. I hate the system that they work for that makes them do things that they don't even probably want. The cops that are listening to this, you guys don't want to go out there and pull people over and write them a ticket for doing 10, 20 over the speed limit, for not wearing a seatbelt, for a kid having a few grams of marijuana, or these are just bullshit rules passed by politicians in Washington to harass the population, to collect taxes and or to collect levy fines and stuff like that to make money for the state. It's just a money scheme. It has nothing to do about protecting or serving the people, making sure the people's safe. Because if you really cared if the driver was safe, you come up to his window, you say, knock on his and say, "Listen, sir, you're doing about 30 or so over the speed limit. I'm concerned that it's a little unsafe speeds and you might get in an accident. So just slow her down, please. I'm worried about your safety." That would show me that you care about the man's safety. Not saying, "Sir, here's a $200-300 ticket. It's going to take money out of your child's mouth. And you're probably not going to be able to pay your internet bill this month," because 64% of Americans live on less than or have less than $1,000 in the bank. So obviously America don't have money to be paying for all these fines and stuff that you guys give them. You cops know. You know this. Cops are more awake than most of the population because they live in the system. You guys know how important guns are and self-protection because you guys use them in the line of work. Cops know more than the general population how important the Second Amendment is. And you guys don't want to live in a third world shithole, you cops. You guys don't want to live like how they live in the Middle East. Each freedom eroded is a freedom eroded for you guys as well. You may be collecting some of the benefits and the goodies right now. You get to drive around and bully people and do whatever, and you're exempt from the rules. That's only temporary, man. And you're being used as a pawn to help destroy our freedoms. And then at a certain point in time, when you lose your job or you retire and stuff, you're going to be living under that same system. Not to mention the kids you may be raising under this society. So this is a message to my if any police officers are listening to this as well. We're on the same page here. I imagine that most police officers signed up to be a cop because they wanted to help people. Of course, you're going to get the few signed up for the power. But I would say, I wanted to be a cop at a certain point in time in my life. But when I realized that how the system works and how I wouldn't do well as a cop because I wouldn't be able to keep my numbers up, my quota. I don't like pulling people over for bullshit things, for non-victimless crimes. So most people that were speeding and everything, I'd be letting them go. People who wouldn't wear their seatbelts, I'd be letting them go. People who had open container alcohol, I'd be letting them go. People who were, had an unregistered firearm, I'd let them go because people have the right to self-defense. And so I wouldn't make a good cop. They'd be like, "Matt, you're bringing in no arrest. You're not making the state money. That's why I didn't become a cop." Same with the military guys. I know not all of them that go over there, most of them have a good intention. And now all I'm saying is I'm saying this to you guys, now that you've realized that your intentions started out good, but now you've realized the system you've got into is corrupt and it's not working. It's actually using against you and your population to enslave you. Do something about it, man. Start fighting out in the ranks. Turn against those corrupt in your ranks. Be a hero. The guy who comes out against fellow corrupt cops and stuff like that and gets rid of the corruption amongst his ranks are always looked at as a hero. I mean, look at Edward Snowden. People love the guy. So this is a chance for you cops to be true heroes, to do what you really signed up to do, to protect enemies, foreign and domestic. Domestic being key there. Weed them out. You know they're amongst your ranks. You know it. You see it when you go to work. You see it. Get rid of these people. Take back your country. Don't listen to Anarchist podcasts and think that we're the terrorists. And, we got to watch out for homegrown terrorists. I'm not the problem here. You don't got to worry about Matt Hunter. I'm not a threat. The threat is government. The threat is these politicians who are arming these rebels, selling us out in debt, tearing our nations down, violating our rights and freedoms every day. Your activists and your guys like me who are just trying to speak out and try to help our country and get it back on the straight and narrow. We're not the problem. We're not the domestic terrorists. I'm no threat to nobody. And the fact that if there are police that end up listening to this stuff, the fact that your higher-ups are telling you guys to listen to people like myself, libertarians and anarchists and militiamen and people who just want freedom, and they're making us out to be the terrorists, well, you should really realize and start looking in the mirror like, holy shit, am I working for the Hydra? Am I working for the beast here? Because they're making freedom fighters, people who just want good for other human beings, look like the bad guys when we're not. I have no ill will for anyone. But you're damn right I'm not going to allow my government to get to a point where you see where they start taking people to internment camps and just mass corruption and killings. And I don't want this shit to happen. I'm going to speak out against it. And while we can still use peace in our words, you're damn right I'm going to use them. So I'd encourage all of those in law enforcement, please, this is a call to you. Please, please, please start weeding out the bad in your ranks and take back the country from within. Take it back. You can do it. I just want to pull up a quote real quick for you, and I'm going to leave my podcast on that note. Bad apple spoils the... Quote. 1 minute here. I just got to find it. I guess it's, I don't know. I can't find the quote right now, and I don't want to keep you guys just on open air, so we'll maybe find it for you in the next one. But it was just a quote about the bad apples in the bunch, and that's all I wanted to say. But whatever, it don't really matter. So hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We're coming up to an hour now, so talked about Obama and stuff like that, and I don't know what else to say. We're living in idiocracy. Debt is wealth. Canada's a rape culture, but social justice warriors are great. Don't call trannies. They're great. Dysfunction and mental disorder now is cool. Up is down, left is right, and welcome to the good night, and I hope you guys enjoyed the Anarchist podcast. This is the sick world we live in. Stay tuned and wait for my next rant on my next one. So if you guys enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, thumbs it up. I mean, Jesus, if these hordes of zombies can make sure to thumbs up the fucking cat video and the Bieber videos get a shitload of thumbs up, I expect to see some goddamn libertarians and you guys listening to start thumbs up these videos. Because I'll tell you one thing, the left, the stupid, the people that we fight against, the people who are anti-freedom, they're really good at supporting their own. We got to be good as well. So you see someone on YouTube that you like listening to every once in a while, they bring you some entertainment, you like what they got to say, fucking support them. And if you can't do it financially, you can sure as hell share a video across your social media platform, and you can thumbs it up so people can see the video. Super easy. It'll go a long way with me. Comment section, write any comments you want. I like feedback, criticism, all that stuff. All good and all that stuff's welcome. Go ahead, put your hate in the hate mail down there as well. That's all welcome. Of course, you're going to get those as well. You know, people are going to be down there, how are we going to build the roads and all this other bullshit, and taxation's not theft, and we'll get those stupid fucking comments. I won't even address you guys. I'll only address comments that are intelligent and actually make sense. I'm not going to address you trolls down there because you're going to get those. So leave your comments, like, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in episode number 14. So peace.